Is there a cap you would put on the amount of people who could come in per year?
No.
No cap at all?
Well, I would think let it happen naturally or let it evolve naturally. I've been to countries where people are living in absolute misery, and it's our fault. It's the Western world's fault.
It's just if government take them, maybe yeah, but I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I feel like it's too much.
Probably not, to be honest with you. I don't think we have the infrastructure for it. Just need to be able to absorb people as they come, I suppose,
I think, we need to have systems in place, and I think, we're Canada and we are a country of immigrants, and so I think we just need to keep those doors open.
It's like if you invited someone to your house for dinner, right? And they come to your house for dinner and they look around, they go, hey, you know what? I'm staying and you're paying and I'm forcing you to pay and I'm going to live in your house.
Sarah Stock for Rebel News. We're at the Toronto beaches. Immigration right now is a very hot topic in Canada. A lot of people say that mass immigration is their number one issue. Last year, Canada let in a record number of immigrants with roughly 500,000 newcomers coming to Canada, and that's not even counting the roughly 1 million international students who came here. About 20% of Canadians are not citizens, they're permanent residents. And these high level of immigration have overwhelmed our healthcare system, our housing market, job market, and in some ways they're even impacting our culture.
Do you think it's fair for the Canadian government to allow new students, temporary foreign workers to come to Canada when it's clear that there is such a housing issue in this country right now?
These two issues have been increasingly tied together, and there is obviously a correlation we need to look at. Clearly, the number of people that are here temporarily in this country has skyrocketed over the last few years, and we've seen that growth in the last quarter.
Our population is growing faster than the supply of housing.
In the last election, we didn't have a housing crisis. And just up to a few months back, I didn't know the federal government was going to bring in over 500,000. Now we learn that those aren't accurate numbers. It's probably up to 800,000 are arriving. I didn't get a phone call from the minister. I didn't get a phone call from the prime minister saying, surprise, surprise, we're dropping these many people into your province. And by the way, good luck, you deal with them.
Over the past few years, we've seen a massive spike in temporary immigration, whether it's temporary foreign workers or whether it's international students in particular that have grown at a rate far beyond what Canada has been able to absorb.
The refugees that are stranded in front of Peter Street, we know that our shelter is full. We also know that a third of the residents in shelter right now are refugees.
But what Mark said and what our government believes is the system for international students was being abused. That was not serving the international students who we want to welcome to Canada.
But is your average Canadian aware of how high these immigration numbers are? And do they think that's had a negative impact on things like our economy, our culture, our way of life? Or are they totally fine with it and they'd like to see more immigrants come? Well, let's talk to some Torontonians and find out what they have to say. Do you know how many immigrants, or if you had to guess, came to Canada this past year?
2 million. Yeah, millions.
500,000? 50,000?
20,000.
20,000? What about you?
No idea. I don't want to make an uneducated guess.
15,000?
15,000?
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
I'm thinking more, probably 300?
300,000?
Let's go 500,000.
I would say probably about 100,000, but I guess I was a bit off.
250,000.
50 to 60,000.
600,000.
That's actually is around there, yeah?
100,000.
125,000.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Maybe 50,000.
250,000?
Oh, maybe 500,000.
I'm going to say 1.2 million.
No idea.
No guess? Okay.
No idea.
No idea. Do you have a guess?
To be honest, no.
300,000.
300,000? You think maybe the same?
Over a million?
I don't know.
500,000?
So you were closer. It was around 500,000.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah, that's not counting international students because we had about 1 million international students and yeah. So
we can tell, you know. I mean, not for anything.
so actually it's a little bit more than 10 times that. 100,000. So actually about 5 times that. So about 500,000 people.
Just to Canada or just to Ontario?
Just to Canada.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Okay, so it's actually about 5 times that. We have over 500,000 new immigrants who came to Canada. Wow. That's actually, yeah, like around 500,000. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, amazing. Wow. Okay.
Canadian politicians are talking about bringing in the same number or more in future years. Do you think that how Canada is right now that we're able to sustain those levels of immigration?
I do think there's a problem with affordable housing and that kind of thing. So it depends on how much money people have when they move here. So maybe just making sure that there's places available for people to live in that are safe. So I think maybe working on that a little bit might be good.
Do you think that Canada can handle that level of immigration, and should we keep it the same, higher, or lower?
Lower, definitely. We don't have the substructures. So we don't have enough hospitals, not enough schools. They're laying off teachers. So we don't have the substructure. If 1% they're trying to bring more immigrants, they should actually add more to the substructure. Then it would make sense.
So you're saying
For
less?
social programs, yeah, a lot less, because they're forcing. It's like if you invited someone to your house for dinner, right? And they come to your house for dinner and they look around, they go, hey, you know what? I'm staying and you're paying. And I'm forcing you to pay, and I'm going to live in your house. And you're staying. I'm staying here. I'm forcing you to pay me. Now, all that money that they're draining out of our banks is affecting all the social programs across the city and every major city in this country.
It's just if government take them, maybe yeah, but I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I feel like it's too much, honestly. Yeah.
Why? What do you see being impacted by the levels of people who are coming in?
Housing first.
Housing?
Yeah, it's crazy here.
Yeah.
So I think it's one point. And honestly, some people I think they're not just. I don't know. They just try to make some negative impact to this country, as I see some immigrants. So
there's nothing saying we can't do it. It takes political will. And we've got a government that, with the Conservatives, that are using this as a ruse to be anti-immigration. Build the infrastructure.
Yep, same.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just want to build more, continue. Is there a cap you would put on the amount of people who could come in per year?
No.
No cap at all?
Well, I would think let it happen naturally or let it evolve naturally. I've been to countries where people are living in absolute misery, and it's our fault. It's the Western world's fault.
Maybe not. I feel like they have the facilities to do it, and because Canada's very diverse, country, I feel like it's not an issue. But maybe America could also take some.
It seems to me that we need immigration because we're not having enough babies ourselves. So if we don't bring in the immigrants, there isn't going to be a Canada.
So do you think, next year, for instance, would you want to see the same level of immigration?
Well, not necessarily next year, because it's not the right time given the housing problem and other problems that we're having. But eventually we're going to have to bring in immigrants unless we start having more babies.
You think we should start having more babies?
Well, I'm not the one to do it, but I'd like to see it happen.
Okay.
I think one of the things that would need to be considered is the housing shortage for new immigrants coming in, as well as our own population that are either living on the streets and below the poverty line, and income. Can they afford to feed themselves, and the taxes and those types of things?
There's a capacity issue, and unfortunately you saw this winter where some of them had to sleep outdoors. And that's just really not appropriate. We just got to figure out if we're going to bring people in that we take care of them and not force them onto the street.
What do you think?
No, I agree, absolutely. I mean, young people in the city can't find housing, and there's a lot of homeless people here, and I don't think it's right to bring immigrants if we can't house them.
I think everything's tough right now, especially in a city like Toronto where everything costs so much and everybody's having a hard time finding rental and homes and places to live. I think it's really important for a country like Canada that has all the resources it does to support people, especially people coming from countries where there's a lot of problems or refugee status and things like that. I just think overall we need to do better, but I hope that we can rise to the occasion. But with some of our current governments, it doesn't look so great.
Probably not, to be honest with you. I don't think we have the infrastructure for it. Just need to be able to absorb people as they come, I suppose, you know.
Would you like to see more or less?
More, but housing has to be issued.
Like I said, I don't really understand the reasons for wanting to drop it or wanting to increase it. It's just, it is hard times for everyone, I think, at the moment.
I'm not sure. Anything that's good for the economy, I guess.
I mean, our infrastructure in Toronto for transportation is obviously quite bogged down.
Yeah.
But, you know, we got to keep the population up to support everyone. So do what we need to do. Yeah.
So
bring them in.
More or less, same amount?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
There's too many answers. Yeah, too many factors. Let's bring in more, but also bring in some more infrastructure for transportation.
It feels like the more people we give breaks to, the harder it is for us, so, regardless of who it is.
Given the inflation rate and the issues surrounding homelessness and stuff like that, I think we should regulate too.
I think, we need to have systems in place, and I think, we're Canada and we are a country of immigrants, and so I think we just need to keep those doors open, but make sure we have the services and supports in place to ensure that people are successful.
It's better to just lessen the like a quota, maybe like a certain quota per year, and make sure the immigrants have their necessary requirements, I guess, to be like recognized and be allowed to come here.
What about when all these politicians say we need immigration?
We don't need it. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's just, it's a lie because a lot of immigrant lobbyists that are running companies in Canada want their own people here, and they want to hire their own people, and they don't want the expense of a Canadian as an employee. They want to shuffle off all the employee expenses and have their people come here. Like security companies that are all from India and Canada. Not one person that's in there say that's multicultural company? All of these security companies that are pure Indian and Muslim and Sikhs, right? Not one white person is hired by them. Not one, but they expect us to hire all their people, but they don't hire one of us. Why? And I mean, all the G7, every G7 country that's getting overpopulated and illegal immigration is suffering. Tent cities everywhere. You go downtown, guy says, look at this park. Oh, this is a beautiful park. I said, yeah, it is beautiful. There ain't a tent in here yet, right? Yet. Right? But everywhere else, and all of our parks and all our cities where kids are supposed to be able to go and play baseball, and yeah, exactly. It's not safe at all anymore. You can't let your kid out into the park, and a lot of these people, pretty soon, they're afraid to come out of their houses because all these desperate people are all over the streets of Toronto wanting handouts or they want, they want something, right? And a lot of people are paranoid and scared.
If you agree that Canada simply cannot handle this level of immigration and needs to come to a halt so we can catch up with our infrastructure, please head over and sign our petition at netzeroimmigration.com.